Surprising 911 call before piano contest reveals incredible support from officer and beloved dog. Mia's hands hovered above the piano keys, the wood cool and unyielding beneath her fingertips. The looming piano contest felt like an iron weight on her chest. Every day she practiced relentlessly, pouring her heart into the notes that flowed like a river across the worn-out keys. Yet passion soon turned to desperation. Victory meant everything, a ticket out of this town and into a prestigious music school. But just days before the competition, the happiness of her world shattered when her beloved dog, Charlie, fell ill. He lay in his bed, eyes dull as if the light of life flickered and waned. She couldn't think. Instead, her mind ricocheted between anxiety about the contest and fear for her furry best friend. If Charlie didn't pull through? No, she couldn't allow herself to go there. The internal struggle twisted like a knife. What if he doesn't make it? Suffocated her thoughts. How could she possibly face the judges, the other contestants, with her heart tangled in worry, her dreams hanging by a thread? Desperate and overwhelmed, Mia's thoughts spiraled to an absurd idea. She picked up her phone and dialed 911, not for an emergency, but for guidance on caring for Charlie. The absurdity of it brushed against her sanity. With her heart racing and breaths coming out in uneven gasps, she felt an unexpected lump of shame and hope. When Officer Jake picked up, his voice washed over her like a soothing balm. "Mia? Is everything okay?" His calmness contrasted the tempest in her mind, and before she knew it, she was spilling her plight to him. A few moments later, he arrived at her doorstep with Max, his therapy dog. Instantly, a flicker of warmth enveloped the room. Max's gentle presence ignited a memory of happier times with Charlie. For a fleeting moment, her burdens lightened as they sat together. Officer Jake listened profoundly, offering words of encouragement that felt surprisingly tangible amidst her swirling anxiety. They spoke of animals and the unconditional love they provided, and for the first time in days Mia found a flicker of solace amid the chaos. Yet, that relief was short-lived. Later, the gravity of her family's financial troubles settled heavily in her chest. As she faced the daunting reality of her family's struggle to keep afloat, other burdens grew more pronounced. How could she afford to pursue her dreams when survival seemed to take precedence? Her heart ached but hardened, igniting a fierce determination that surged through her veins. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With each passing day, the contest loomed larger, an Everest of expectation. The love she felt for Charlie burrowed deeper into her psyche. What if she could channel that bond into her music? As her mind raced with worry and anticipation, she visualized Charlie's face whenever doubts crept in. Would it be enough? On the brink of everything she ever fought for, Mia's heart pounded relentlessly. She stared at the clock as its hand ticked away precious seconds. Would she be able to manage the weight of her anxiety and fear, or would they crush her before the final moment? The shadows danced in her room, and with only a whisper of hope she gripped the keys, ready to face the tension that pulsed through her very being. Mia drew a deep breath, her fingers quivering slightly as they hovered above the piano keys. The echoes of her past rehearsals whispered around her, a cacophony of both triumph and despair pressing down on her. In that moment, all that mattered was the space before her, the glimmer of polished wood contrasting sharply with the shadows of uncertainty clawing at the edges of her mind. She had to play. For Charlie. The thought of her dog, his golden fur against the sunlight, brought a rush of warmth and shattered some of her anxiety. What would Charlie want? This reflection shifted her perspective. It wasn't merely about winning or losing. It was about truth and authenticity. With newfound resolve, Mia pressed down on the keys, unleashing a melody that spoke of her love and trepidation. Each note was a piece of her, woven from the essence of her fears and hopes. She poured Charlie's spirit into the performance, imagining him beside her, urging her forward. The music enveloped her, and for those fleeting moments she soared, taking control of her destiny. Yet reality resumed its relentless grip the moment she paused. The fear crept back in. She thought of the judges, their stern faces, the harsh critiques that awaited her. Could she truly face them? Mia swallowed hard, a lump forming in her throat. Suddenly the thought of failure loomed larger than life. Mia recoiled, uncertainty flooding her veins. She had never liked transition, the space between dreams and reality. It was volatile, where fear thrived. But who was she to let fear dictate her path? Wouldn't Charlie want her to embrace this moment, to take the leap she had always danced around? She closed her eyes for a moment, allowing the warmth of Charlie's presence to wash over her. Inspired, she forged a new plan. What if she harnessed the support from Officer Jake and the community around her? They believed in her, she realized with a jolt. Maybe she could do this together with them. She reached for her phone and hesitated, the weight of consideration heavy in her chest. Could she engage further with them, share her plans, her struggles? A mix of vulnerability and courage bubbled within her. She initiated a group chat with Officer Jake and a few friends from school, proposing they meet before the contest for a mini practice session. Mia took a moment before hitting send, a rush of anxiety coursing through her. What if her peers saw her as weak? But then the image of Charlie filled her mind again, his unwavering encouragement cutting through the noise. The message was sent. As responses started flooding in, a sense of solidarity began building. Excitement mingled with nerves. She felt the team spirit surge through her. No longer isolated in her struggles, she realized she was crafting a network of support. This was her first step toward redefining her situation, not just as a competitor, but as an active participant in a shared journey. Later that evening, she sat at the piano again, practicing with a focus that felt different, fueled by community rather than just personal ambition. She smiled at the thought. This could transform everything. As the clock inched closer to the competition day, a new determination solidified within her. No longer did she see this as a solitary race, but rather as one shared with those who believed in her. Yet, even amid the brightening horizon of possibility, one question gnawed at her. Would the essence of her music resonate deeply enough to captivate both the judges and herself? Tomorrow held the answers, and with her heart racing, she steeled herself for the unfolding of fate. What awaited her on that stage? Perhaps a moment that would test everything she believed about herself. Mia awoke with the first light of dawn filtering through her window, an illuminating glow that felt both serene and charged with anticipation. The competition day had finally arrived, yet the apprehensive twist in her stomach hinted at the enormity of what lay ahead. She swung her legs over the edge of the bed, her heart racing as she replayed the sequence of thoughts that had kept her awake the night before. Was she truly ready? The struggle between potential and doubt loomed over her like a specter. After a quick shower, she stood in front of her mirror, noting the faint dark circles under her eyes. It was time to confront the composition of her anxiety. She recalled the group chat buzzing with messages from Officer Jake and her classmates, their words of encouragement wrapping around her mind like a warm blanket. They were pulling for her. This realization pressed her toward a sense of newfound bravery. Doubt line by line began to coalesce into determination. "You will own this," she whispered, reminding herself that the performance was not just a reflection of skill, but a canvas for her heart's melody. Deciding to strengthen her resolve, she made her way to her piano for an early morning rehearsal. Each note resonated in the silence of her home, merging into chords filled with hope and trepidation. The music seemed to transcend the technicalities of her training. It became a dialogue, a conversation with herself, echoing not just her commitment to the contest, but her desire to share her authentic self. As she practiced, Mia couldn't shake off the question, what if she actually reached the judges? Would her emotions strike a chord deep enough? It wasn't enough merely to play. She needed to connect. Half an hour later, the sound of her phone vibrating broke her concentration. A message from Officer Jake blinked before her. "Remember, it's not about perfection. It's about what you bring to the stage." Simple yet profound, His timely reminder echoed in her mind, mingling with thoughts of Charlie. She felt her pulse quicken, amplifying her conviction to approach this not as an isolated journey, but as part of something larger. Drawing in a breath, Mia transitioned from practice mode to powered focus, visualizing how she would feel performing in front of the audience. The conversion of nerves into energy charged her spirit. She envisioned the faces of her friends, all rooting for her. She visualized their belief in her interlaced with the memories shared with Charlie, those moments of joyful companionship that reminded her of the unconditional support she carried with her. Minutes turned into hours as she lost herself in the rhythm of practice. The weight of expectation began to fade, transforming into rhythmic pulses of encouragement. Yet despite the fierce battle within, the finality of the stage haunted her softly. Every passing moment intensified the self-imposed pressure, and with each key pressed, she faced an internal battle. Later on, as she prepared to leave, Mia caught her reflection one last time before taking a deep breath. "You're enough," she affirmed. However, as she stepped out the door, her phone blared with an unexpected alert, a news notification that opened to reveal a shocking headline about Officer Jake. Torn between disbelief and concern, Mia's heart sank, realizing she had yet to comprehend the full extent of their relationship. It was a reminder that the people around her were not just supporters, but individuals with their own stories and struggles. As uncertainty flooded her, she couldn't silence her thoughts. Would the support be enough to bridge the gap between fear and performance? She stepped into the world outside, not just about music, but about confronting truths yet untangled. Truths she would need to face if she were to truly embrace the stage. A haunting realization settled in her chest. In the depth of shared struggles, Mia prepared to discover that what she faced today would redefine her understanding of support and resilience. What awaited her might reveal more about the connections forged than she ever thought possible. Would the imminent revelation shake the very foundation she had built upon? Mia stepped into the brisk air, the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders. A breeze tousled her hair, a sharp contrast to the electric charge of anxiety crackling within. The news alert still echoed in her mind, gnawing at her concentration, demanding attention she couldn't afford to give. She needed to flip the switch from uncertainty to focus. Today she would need clarity more than ever. With each step toward the venue, her surroundings blurred into a cacophony of colors and sounds. A baker's cart, children laughing, cars honking. Yet, despite the distraction, thoughts of Officer Jake pulsed rhythmically in her brain, intertwining sadness and gratitude. There was more to him than met her eye, and she'd only begun to scratch the surface of his story. Arriving at the venue, Mia's heart raced at the sight of the crowd, their buzz thickening with a tangible energy. She paused outside the door, taking a moment to gather her breathing, settling her thoughts. The echoes of her morning practice drifted back. Music was her lifeline. It was her way of reaching beyond. The belief that she could connect transcended her doubts, pulling her back to her purpose. Once inside, she felt the heat of the stage lights warm her skin, a beacon amid the turmoil. Anxious murmurs from other participants swirled around her. Each face mirrored a broad spectrum of emotions: nervousness, excitement, determination. This was the point of convergence where individual stories were shared through the universal language of music. Mia took her place, positioning herself at the piano, fingers brushing over the cool keys, sending shivers of familiar comfort through her. She closed her eyes, seeking that inner dialogue she had fostered during practice, chasing away the specter of doubt. Each tick of the clock echoed louder, slicing through her stillness. The stage manager called her name, each syllable reverberating in her core, and for a fleeting second, she was gripped by a wave of fear. But then, the face of Officer Jake materialized in her mind, his encouragement chasing shadows away. She envisioned not just the notes she would play, but the stories behind them and the feelings they carried. It was time to step out of her own story and into the collective narrative, intertwining her emotions with those of her audience. As she launched into her performance, every chord resonated with her deepest fears and hopes, channeling not just the technique she had practiced, but also the memories that shaped her. A symphony of support from friends, family, and yes, even Charlie. But as she played, her focus sharpened on something beyond the music. It was a search for connection. If her fingers could evoke even a fraction of the love and understanding swirling in her heart, she had succeeded. Yet, as the final notes hung in the air, a flicker of clarity pierced the fog. The support she yearned for, the connection promised by the stage, it was not only given, but mutual. In that moment, she discovered a hidden talent in herself, the ability to share vulnerability through art, to elevate her personal struggles into a collective experience. As she received the applause, her heart danced in tandem with the audience's enthusiasm. Mia realized the revelation of her performance was layered. It was about confronting fears that came not only from within, but also from the relationship she held dear. The nature of support reshaped itself more than she anticipated. And then, just as her spirit soared, a new message popped up on her phone from Officer Jake. "I need to tell you something important. Can we talk?" The thrill of the performance collided with an intense urgency, sending Mia spiraling back into uncertainty. What could he possibly mean? She fought against the swell of anxiety clawing at her throat. Stepping off the stage, she felt a deeper conversation awaited, a confrontation with truths she had yet to face. What lay in store could change everything. As Mia stepped away from the stage, the applause still ringing in her ears, the warmth of the spotlight faded, replaced by a chill that settled into her bones. She unlocked her phone, reading Jake's message again, each word exacerbating her growing sense of unease. What could be so urgent? A part of her wanted to brandish a smile for her friends, to bask in their admiration, but another part was far too distracted by uncertainty. Navigating through the crowd, she sought refuge in a quieter corner, hoping for a moment of solitude to compose herself. The moment she found a space free from prying eyes, Mia pressed her back against the cool brick wall, her heart beating a chaotic rhythm. Her thoughts raced with possibilities. Was something wrong? Was he in trouble? After a few shaky breaths, she took the plunge, typing a reply. "Sure. What's going on?" Her fingers hovered over the screen for a second longer before she hit send, an unsteady pulse of anticipation coursing through her. She considered the performance. Her heart had opened in ways she hadn't thought possible, and now it felt as if gravity had stripped her of that buoyancy. For the first time, she recognized how intertwined her art and her personal life were. The vulnerability that had resonated on stage pressed against her heart like an unrelenting weight now. Just then, her phone buzzed again. Jake's response was immediate, sending another jolt of anxiety through her. "Can we talk in person? I'm near the park." Every instinct urged her to flee from the confrontation. What if she didn't want to hear what he had to say? But then, another voice within her summoned resolve. Mia was no stranger to confrontation. In fact, her growth as an artist had stemmed from learning to face her fears rather than run from them. Taking a deep breath, she stepped back into the throng, weaving through faces that blurred by. Each glance seemed to flash reminders of her performance's success, yet all she could focus on was the impending conversation with Jake. The brisk air of the park greeted her as she stepped outside. She spotted him under a large elm tree, his silhouette framed against the dappled afternoon light. The earlier warmth evaporated in an instant, replaced by an unfamiliar tension. "Hey," he greeted, the gentleness in his tone wrapping around her like a soft blanket, yet simultaneously exposing their underlying fracture. "Mia," he paused, searching her face as if it held answers he was desperate to uncover. "I wanted to talk about, well, some things that happened recently." Her heart skipped. The confidence she had summoned on the stage felt miles away. "What things?" she asked, her voice low, almost afraid to stake a claim on the conversation. He shifted, hands deep in his pockets as if grounding himself. "Earlier this week when you called after Charlie went missing, I wanted to check in after I found him. But it went deeper than that. I realized something important." He hesitated, the weight of his words hovering between them like a fragile glass ornament, ready to shatter with a single careless move. Deep down, Mia felt the edges of her own vulnerability brushing against his, and she braced herself for the clarity that would follow. "What is it, Jake?" she pressed, her heart racing, ready to confront whatever truth lay ahead. "It's about us, and about how I've been avoiding all this." He gestured between them, the raw honesty radiating from his eyes. The urgent rhythm of her heart quickened, battling between anticipation and fear. What did he mean by us? Could their connection withstand this unveiling? Just as Jake opened his mouth to speak again, a sudden commotion interrupted, drawing her attention to the edge of the park where a crowd was forming, excitement palpable in the air. "Hey, what's going on over there?" she called out, but Jake remained fixed on her, the moment stalling, tension thickening like a storm cloud. "Mia," he said slowly, "we need to talk about what I've been holding back." And with that, the urgency shifted, both captivating and terrifying. Could this moment change everything? Mia's stomach twisted as the crowd noise reached a fever pitch, drowning out Jake's words. The sharp contrast between their intimate facade and the bustling park felt jarring. She could see people gesticulating wildly, faces straining with a mixture of concern and excitement. Jake's gaze faltered, and for a moment, he looked over his shoulder, distracted by the escalating situation. This fleeting glance triggered something deeper within Mia. For all the certainty that had accompanied her performances, facing Jake felt like stepping into unknown territory. "Should we check it out?" she suggested, trying to mask her hesitation with curiosity. But the truth was, she felt an instinctive pull towards resolving whatever lay between them, before allowing this outside chaos to disrupt their moment. "No," he replied, his voice firm but gentle. "Mia, what I need to say is, well, it's about the day Charlie went missing. I looked for him and it made me realize things I've been avoiding." Her chest tightened, the familiarity of their shared past roaring back. Both the weight of grief and the promise of hope intertwined in her heart. "What did you realize?" "I realized how much I've relied on you as my constant, my stability," Jake continued, his voice trembling with sincerity. "But I've been running from the idea of us, from facing how deep this connection really is." Every muscle in her body clenched at the admission, her mind swirling with flashes of shared laughter and unresolved tensions. How could he have felt this way and still kept it bottled inside? His honesty was both an anchor and a weight, giving her a glimpse of the possibilities they might share, even as it threatened to overwhelm her. "I've been stuck in my patterns too," Mia confessed, her heart urging her to be vulnerable in return. "After the audition, I thought maybe I could finally let go of everything that frightens me. But it's not just about the past, it's about what's next for us, right?" Jake nodded slowly, still gauging her reaction. "It's scary, the thought of taking a leap, of putting this out in the open." Mia's resolve coiled tighter. Perhaps this was the moment she felt spiraling into anxiety, but standing at this metaphorical crossroads, she realized she had a choice. She could seize the opportunity to change the trajectory of their relationship, confronting her fears head-on rather than sidestepping them. "It's not just something we can tiptoe around, Jake," she said, her voice steadied with a newfound intensity. "Life is too short to keep pushing this down. We owe it to ourselves to be honest, even if it's terrifying." His eyes held hers, a calculating amalgam of apprehension and yearning flickering across his expression. They both understood the weight of the truth they were exchanging, words that could reshape the very foundation of their connection. Just as Jake opened his mouth once more, a piercing siren cut through the chatter of the crowd like a knife, instantly drawing their attention. They both turned to see a police car rolling up to the park, lights flashing and urgency etched into the officers' faces. "Looks like something serious is happening," Mia said, a sense of foreboding creeping in. "Wait," Jake interrupted. "What if this is about more than just a call? What if it's something significant?" Mia felt her heart thudding loudly against her ribcage, a mix of frustration and worry taking hold. How could they redirect this moment towards clarity if the world around them continued to swirl in chaos? She could feel the distance opening between what they had built and the uncertainty looming over them, as confounding as the sirens that beckoned from behind. "We can talk about this," she insisted, "but let's not let everything else drown us out. Can we carve out a space for clarity, just for a moment?" Jake smiled faintly, but with a flicker of determination that mirrored hers. "Absolutely. But first—" His voice trailed off as more people rushed past them towards the source of the commotion. They both exchanged glances, And in that reality, the question hung between them, heavy as the storm on the horizon. Would this chaotic interlude derail their rapid ascent into vulnerability? Or would it push them closer to the truth, the real discussion about who they truly were to each other? The sirens wailed, pulling them back into the noise of a world that seemed determined to keep them from their moment. What if their courage to face their fears was exactly what this tumultuous reality needed to help them forge a new path forward? As Mia took a breath, ready to navigate through this storm, she felt a sudden jolt of realization. The urgency that had once filled her heart began to transform into something new, an understanding that their connection might just be the source of strength they needed to face whatever storm lay ahead. Mia's heart raced, a chaotic symphony of anxiety and anticipation as she turned to face Jake again. The flashing lights, the distant shouts of officers weaving through the mass of onlookers, felt like a metaphorical barricade shutting them off from the confrontation they desperately needed. "We can't let this moment slip away, Jake," she said, her voice steady, yet laced with urgency. The sirens became a soundscape that underscored the gravity of their situation. This was not just a physical disruption, it was a representation of the internal conflicts she needed to confront in her life. Jake's eyes searched hers, and for a fleeting moment, she saw a glimpse of the uncertainty that clouded him. Were they meant to push through this chaos together, or would it serve as an insurmountable wall? "We can make this work," he replied, his breath hitching as his resolve seemed to strengthen in the face of external turbulence. But Mia could sense the challenge in his tone. They were still tethered by the fears they held. "You have to decide what you want," Mia pressed, her heart leaning heavily towards the hope that he would take this leap with her. "I can't hold your hand through this forever, not if we keep allowing the outside world to dictate our reality." Jake nodded, the weight of her words sinking in. Just as she thought they might solidify their path forward, chaos erupted anew. A woman near them screamed, pointing toward a couple of officers who were trying to reschedule the gathering crowd, their expressions grim. It was urgent, and yet the enormity of their moment lingered in the air. Mia inhaled deeply, channeling her frustration into focus. "This is bigger than us being scared," she said, forcing herself to embrace vulnerability. "It's about what defines us, how we approach life's unpredictability. We can either let it paralyze us, or use it to push through." Jake's gaze was fixed on the unfolding scene. For a split second, Mia saw him wrestle with the choice, sticky fingers of doubt grasping at his resolve. But then, that familiar warmth sparked within her, igniting a stubborn determination to not just look inward but also outward toward the chaos, but with courage. Just as snippets of clarity coalesced in her mind, the crowd began to part, creating a path for the officers to reach them. The figure following closely behind them caught her eye, a scruffy golden retriever, its ears flopping with each bounding step, wearing a vest that said K9 Comfort. Mia couldn't help but smile as it approached, the innocence of the dog acting as a beacon amidst the tumult. The officers were almost upon them, and Mia sensed this was a chance not just to witness but to engage. "Jake," she whispered, I want us to take a step forward together, regardless of what's happening around us." As the dog reached them, it nudged against Jake's leg, eliciting a soft chuckle from him. It was a simple interaction, but it shifted something within both of them, the reassurance that they could still find joy and comfort, even when chaos surrounded them. His eyes met hers, an unspoken acknowledgement passing between them. "All right," Jake finally murmured. "Let's face this. Together." Mia's heart fluttered, a profound affirmation of the personal commitment they were both choosing to make. Yet before she could relish the newfound hope that filled her, the crowd surged forward, amplifying the noise. The officers began explaining the situation, announcing details that could change everything in an instant. Mia squeezed Jake's hand, feeling the pulse of the moment urging her to remain grounded. The sound of the K9 dog's playful bark echoed through the park. But deep down, she knew the real drama was unfolding within her. The irony of how life could pull them in two directions at once. As the officers began detailing the unfolding situation, Mia felt a rush of clarity. "I have to find my voice through this," she thought, recalling the audition that had started this journey. Each memory was a step toward clarity, a stepping stone toward her growth. Just as the first officer began, Mia realized this was not just about external chaos, but the internal storms waiting to be calmed. Would she use these experiences to fuel her artistic voice, or let them drown it out? The choice hung in the balance, as did the uncertain future she shared with Jake. With renewed fervor, Mia prepared herself to speak up amidst the clamoring noise, determined to embrace this pivotal moment in both their lives. The real breakthrough was just a heartbeat away. But could she thread the needle between vulnerability and clarity before the tide of chaos swallowed them whole? Mia focused her attention on the officer who stepped forward, a man with a calm yet authoritative presence. As he began to speak, his voice cut through the surrounding chaos, wrapping them in a cocoon of clarity amidst the confusion. She could almost feel her rapid heartbeat synchronizing with the man's steady cadence. This was the moment, her moment, to rise above her doubts. "Please stay calm, everyone," he instructed, maintaining control as the anxious crowd fidgeted. "We're experiencing a temporary disruption, but we're here to ensure everyone's safety." Jake's grip tightened on her hand, and for a moment, Mia drew strength from that connection. This shared clarity wasn't just about their relationship, it was a realization that they could support each other in their individual quests for growth. He wasn't just a tether. He was someone she could inspire as well. As the officer detailed the unfolding situation, explaining how they were assessing the crowd for potential hazards, Mia's thoughts drifted back to the audition and the fear that had gripped her then. She had allowed external circumstances, judges, stage fright, initial rejection to dampen her voice. But what if this chaotic moment could ignite a different reaction? "Jake, I need to talk," she whispered, urgency in her tone. He turned to her, those eyes searching for an anchor. "We have to share our story, yours and mine. We've spent too long allowing fear to keep us from seizing moments like this." He looked hesitant for a moment, and Mia felt internal echoes of doubt and uncertainty ricochet in the space between them. But then he nodded slowly, an acknowledgement of the truth she spoke. The officer continued, describing the situation with authority but also compassion. Like the gold retriever beside him, offering the crowd an unexpected sense of camaraderie amidst the apprehension. Mia recognized his approach. He wasn't just managing a crisis. He was embodying vulnerability by reaching out to connect with those around him. Suddenly, she found the courage to take a step forward. With the canine dog sitting patiently at the officer's feet, she felt an overwhelming urge to share their experiences. It was time to elevate their stories above the noise. "Excuse me," Mia called out, her voice carrying through the din. Every eye shifted toward her, and for a split second, a paralyzing fear gripped her. What if they didn't care? What if she fell flat? But then she recalled the joy she felt when performing, the thrill of sharing a piece of herself. The officer paused, and Mia's heart beat a little faster. "I've learned that in moments of chaos we must find our voices. It's in sharing our stories and connecting that we learn to thrive amidst uncertainty. Like this officer and his dog here, we can find solace together." Jake stepped slightly closer, his presence solidifying her resolve. "We've all felt fear and loss lately, but we also have each other to lean on." His voice joined hers, steady and sure, amplifying her message with the shared weight of truth. Mia's words found an unanticipated resonance with the onlookers, and she could see the shift in their faces, curiosity, warmth, and a flicker of hope. She realized the fear they had both harbored wasn't isolating. Instead, it connected them in a shared experience of vulnerability. As Mia continued speaking, a wave of confidence surged through her. The chaos of their surroundings softened, and she began weaving an intricate tapestry of connection among the crowd, highlighting the importance of inner strength. Every individual had a story, an experience worth sharing. Just as she felt like she was gaining momentum, a new tone emerged from the officer's radio, an urgent call that shifted everything. Mia felt a rush of adrenaline course through her. She grasped the moment, sensing their narrative was teetering on a precipice. "Jake, whatever happens next, we can take this step forward," she affirmed, breathing deeply as a decision lingered on her tongue. Would this encounter push her to be more than just an artist seeking validation? Could she transcend their current circumstances and step into a role that redefined both of them? The tension in the air thickened, and now there was no turning back. As Mia locked eyes with Jake, a realization dawned. This was about a leap of faith, a bridge between uncertainty and courage that could change everything. The officer drew closer, and Mia braced herself, knowing the moment ahead would challenge everything she had just uncovered. Would she finally find the voice that could echo beyond chaos? Mia's heart raced in the silence that enveloped the crowd, a stillness punctuated only by the crackling voice of the officer's radio. As he turned, Mia sensed an imminent shift. The sparkle of connection she'd felt moments before threatened to wane, overshadowed by the anxiety that lurked just beneath the surface. "Stay alert," the officer instructed into his radio, his brows furrowing with concern. The K-9's ears perked up, sensing the change in atmosphere. Mia saw the crowd's energy knotting tighter, an undercurrent of worry swelling just out of sight. She breathed deeply, feeling the weight of uncertainty looming. Drawing strength from Jake's hand intertwined with hers, Mia felt the familiar stirrings of fear creeping back in. Could she hold on to the momentum she had created, or would she let this moment slip away? The officer's focus remained resolute, yet the tension crackled like electricity between them. It wasn't just about responding to the situation, it was about their chance to create something transcendent out of the chaos. "What if we share why we're here?" Mia proposed, glancing up at Jake, who seemed to weigh her suggestion carefully. "We came to celebrate possibility, to find joy in our craft despite challenges." He looked back at her, the corners of his lips twitching into a hint of a smile. "Let's do it. But let's make it count." His voice fueled her determination, igniting a purpose that pushed aside the shadows of fear. Mia nodded, the clarity in his eyes reflecting back an unwavering resolve. As they shifted their stance forward, the officer gestured for their attention again. Like a lighthouse piercing the fog, his calming presence shone brightly, infusing the space with a sense of community, a term Mia had almost forgotten amidst her internal battles. Mia found herself buoyed by the realization that they weren't just any voices. They had lived stories steeped in struggle and innovation. "We are not just waiting," she called out, her voice steadying like the officer's. "We're here reminding each other of hope. I was paralyzed by acceptance, by fearing judgment. In this moment, we have the opportunity to change that." Jake stepped closer, and together they engaged the crowd, sharing snippets of their backstories, how fear had once silenced them both, how doubt had threatened to extinguish their passions. Unraveled by vulnerability, Mia felt the crowd lean in as if they were members of a choir harmonizing to the rhythm of understanding. With newfound energy, Mia targeted the ambivalence within the crowd, daring them to rise above it. "Let's take a collective breath." She inhaled deeply, prompting mimicry from those around her. "Every person here has a talent. Every talent is a thread in the tapestry of our experiences. Together we can reconnect and redefine who we are in times of adversity." The officer positioned himself purposefully, nodding as he absorbed the collective shift. "Your voices matter," he asserted, as the K-9 sat attentively beside him. "You've inspired resilience among yourselves, now and always." Mia's heart swelled as the onlookers began exchanging glances, wonder igniting sparks of recognition. With each shared word, she was building a bridge to their inner strength, crafting an environment of support. Yet, an unexpected crackle from the radio shattered the tender moment, the officer's expression changing with urgency. "We're switching protocols. We need immediate assistance." A surge of adrenaline jolted through Mia. Was this turning point teetering on the brink of an urgent call, the pressure of an undecipherable tension ready to explode? She could only grasp at fragments of her resolve. What if she could rise to this challenge, not just as a performer but as an advocate for determined voices daring to break through? As the crowd murmured, fears reinvigorated, their connection pulsing with the potential of shared experience. One question pressed alive in Mia's mind. Would this new wave of uncertainty define their moment, or catalyze a liberation she was only beginning to understand? Mia turned to Jake, that resolve mirrored in his expression, and they both knew the truth. They were standing on the threshold of a crossroads, each path paved with opportunities yet to be uncovered. Their journey together had only just begun, and the next steps would demand courage in the face of whatever chaos lay ahead. What surprises awaited beyond the call? As the sounds of the chaotic crowd faded into the background, Mia's realization crystallized. In that moment, the sirens and uncertainty encapsulated the very essence of her journey. The conflict she had faced was not just about the competition or the chaos outside, but about the music nestled in her soul. Mia looked up at Jake, her heart pounding with a clarity she had never before encountered. We can't let fear define our paths, Jake. We've both been changed by our experiences. Let's show them how powerful vulnerability can be. Broader acceptance flooded through Mia, and she felt not just as a participant in a competition, but as an ambassador of resilience, driving forth their truth, no longer hesitating to share her passion. She turned again toward the crowd, their anticipation palpable. We've faced challenges that tested our spirits, Mia began, her voice unwavering. But today, amidst the noise and turmoil of life, we can transform that struggle into a symphony of connection. Jake stepped forward, echoing her sentiment. Each one of us here has dealt with our own battles. It is in uniting those stories that we can discover what makes us truly strong. People around them began to nod, murmurs of agreement surfacing. Some even raised their phones to capture the moment, eager to share this conversation with those who might still be grappling with their own struggles. As Mia poured her heart into the words, she felt warmth radiating from Jake, their synergy igniting a shared vision of hope. Like that dog there, she pointed to the canine beside the officer, who offers comfort without expectation. Each of us carries the capacity for empathy, for beauty, for laughter. Together we can create a melody vibrant enough to drown out the noise of fear. The crowd listened intently. Mia saw recognition glimmer in their eyes. What was once an assembly of anxious souls now felt like a community on the brink of something transformative. As you leave today, she continued, take with you the promise to embrace who you are, share your melody, and inspire others to find their voice just as I once did. Jake's hand found hers, his thumb tracing circles on the back of her palm. Their mutual understanding shone brighter than the loud ambience surrounding them. The embrace of connection transcended their fears, making way for an encouraging embrace of hope. Their words stirred something within the gathered crowd, punctuated by an unexpected cheer directed toward them. The applause felt like a wave crashing over her, washing away her previous worries and replacing them with affirmation. People were not merely spectators. They were alive with shared understanding, eager to amplify their own stories as well. In that moment, Mia felt a heightened sense of realization. This was her true performance, not on stage, but in the truths shared, the fear confronted, and the melodies woven into the fabric of community. As the officer concluded the announcements and attentiveness shifted back to their surroundings, Mia squeezed Jake's hand tighter, quietly exhilarated by what they'd stepped into together. No matter what challenges come next, we can navigate them together, she whispered. Jake offered a reassuring nod, eyebrows raised as if to ask, ready for whatever comes next? It was an unvoiced pledge to support each other through thick and thin, reminders of heart and hope glowing between them. Mia took a deep breath, grounding herself as she stepped toward the onlookers one final time. Let this moment remind us to embrace vulnerability, seek connection, and rise against every storm. Reinforcements moved through the crowd, additional officers joined the first, and an unforeseen solidarity began to build in the air around them. Now let's find those unique notes within ourselves and support each harmony, together, Jake added, as hands began to clap vigorously, laughter spilling upwards into the mirrored hopes they all carried. Mia felt as if she had stepped off a precipice and soared into the realm of her own identity. She had accomplished not only her own growth as a musician, but an essential truth. That connection is more powerful than fear, that every voice has a melody worth sharing. The echoes of applause further solidified her strength, every cheer urging her into the dawning light of a brighter tomorrow, where dreams could dance with reality once more. Jake stood by her, their connection blossoming into something assured and unshakable. Fueled by purpose and passion, this was not just a conclusion for Mia, it was the launch pad toward her long-held aspirations, into the expansive universe of possibility. Together they would navigate whatever storms lay ahead, hand in hand, song by song. This was her moment of triumph, not just for herself, but for every person who ever felt lost in the shadows, yearning for the light. Mia knew she had the strength to not just embrace her fears, but conquer them. And as they left the park, hearts alight with unshakable resolve, she silently vowed to never watch an opportunity slip away again. Before this message ends, I urge each of you to take a leap of faith. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes all the difference. Comment your reactions and theories about this ending, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. You need to subscribe now to truly understand the power of personal overcoming stories.